Joining me right now is Michael Oren, the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. Ambassador, it's good to see you again. Thanks for taking a moment to speak with us. Talk to me about all of these diplomatic moves that we're seeing, especially Blinken in Qatar right now. What role, how big of a role do you think Qatar can, should, and will play, especially when we're talking about the hostages?
Yeah, good to be with you, Kate. I'm just listening to CNN and hearing these the accounts made by people who escaped Hamas terror, those whose lost loved ones to Hamas barbarism, and it's difficult to make that switch to talk about from personal pain to strategic thinking. I'll do my best. How's that? Qatar plays a very problematic role in the Middle East. It tries to place both sides. When I was ambassador to Washington, I had a very nice relationship with my Qatari counterpart. But Qatar was also supporting terror around the world, certainly supporting Hamas terror, and at odds with some of our future friends in the Gulf region, the Saudis and the Emiratis. So you have to be very, very careful with dealing with the Qataris. During the 2014 operation against Gaza, Secretary of State John Kerry tried to bring the Qataris into the mediation, and Egypt and Israel and our other allies in the Middle East sort of turned them away. We didn't want to deal with the Qataris. They were part of the problem, not part of the solution. I don't know specifically what Secretary Blinken is doing in Qatar. I suspect it has to do with releasing American hostages that are held by Hamas and hoping that Qatar can bring its influence to bear on Hamas leaders in securing that release. I do not believe that Israel is interested in having Qatar mediating in any simpler way here. We have used, with that, we have allowed the Qataris to infuse Hamas with cash. And here we get into very murky waters, Kate. We've gone through 5 rounds of fighting with Hamas, and each one ends pretty much the same way. They shoot 1,000 rockets at us. We bomb them from the air for the most part. And at the end of the day, the Egyptians come in and mediate some type of ceasefire. And basically, I hate to say this in a less crass manner, we sort of pay off Hamas. We let them workers come into Israel. About 20,000 Gazan workers are coming in every day in the hope that that would give Hamas something to lose. And we let the Qataris infuse Hamas with huge amounts of cash, a payoff. It didn't work. Hamas wasn't interested in the workers, doesn't care about the people of Gaza, and certainly doesn't care about money. It cares about money only for one purpose, and that's to buy weaponry. It didn't work. So what now would be the role of Qatar in negotiations with us? I don't think there is one, but I understand why Secretary of State Blinken might be there in order to secure the release of those hostages.
Yeah, I mean, talk about complicated, and complicated is, there's no word for how complicated and challenging the next steps really are going to be. You talk about the challenge, and we've seen this over and over in our conversations with folks since Saturday, and seeing it even just earlier this hour when I spoke with a woman, Bar Yuval Shani, separating the kind of looking forward and the as you were saying, kind of the personal, I don't know, the personal and the practical, if you will. And it's personal for you as well, Ambassador.
Yeah. It's very personal. We all know people who have been killed, people who have been captured, people who have been tortured, who have lost loved ones. Earlier today, the 2 sons of the rabbi who who married my daughter and my son-in-law, both those sons were buried today. They were both reserve officers. They were married with children. As soon as they heard there was fighting, they put on their uniforms. They went down south. They didn't come back. My kids have been in funerals. Right now, we're all in our safe rooms here. This is my safe room. Ignore the books behind me. Our family beds have been moved in here. We had a rocket fall not too far south from here about a half an hour ago. So this is all intensely personal, and yet we have to rise above the pain and rise above the fears and think strategically, try to think clearly. What are and ourselves? What is the best way to navigate this incredibly labyrinthine topography of the Middle East? And we are very appreciative with that. The position of the President of the United States. I've been involved in U.S.-Israel relations for many decades, Kate, as you know. And as a historian, as a practitioner, I never heard a speech like that. Never did. And we all were watching here with tears in our eyes as this president spoke. And also when the Secretary of State was here, and the things he said about his personal connections. We deeply, deeply appreciate it at this time. We will defend ourselves, Kate.
Ambassador, I mean, as so many people can say, and I'm not unique in this, I've known you and reported on you and covered you and interviewed you for a very long time. And this is such a different time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk again soon.